welcome back, Turntable Currents. Hope everybody's doing well. Back with another video. How's everybody? It's I guess early morning Sunday. You know how I like to come in and do my my nightlies in the space cave. But yeah, kind of a lazy day today. Made some food and watched a movie or two. No, take that back. I was watching Unsolved Mysteries for a few hours. The old show, and then sometimes at night I like to stay up late and I'll start a movie or a couple movies, and I've kind of challenged myself to watch movies that of my favorite actors over time, and catching up on a lot of their films. Luckily, some of it's on streaming. I have many movies, but I'm trying to watch the ones that I haven't seen. And right now, I've been getting close to a lot of my actors that my favorites that over the years that I'm kind of, if I can find their films, completing their filmography. And this last week I've been watching Jeff Bridges and Robert Duvall. A lot of earlier ones I haven't seen, some later ones. I just watched a later 2000 something of Jeff Bridges. It was pretty good. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing. So yeah, entertain myself that way. Watched Unsolved Mysteries. I used to watch that as a kid back in the 90s. I think it was the early 90s, late 80s, and Robert Stack. And it still holds up. It was a little cheesy then, some of the graphics, but it's good, man. I still like it better than that reboot they did on Netflix. But but yeah, man, I've been doing that. I once saw Robert Duvall one time in person, probably 20 years ago or so. I was at an airport, and I saw him come through with his family, and he was by himself for a little bit. But I didn't go up to him and speak to him or anything. I just wanted to watch him. And man, I tell you, what you see in his films is who he really is. It was pretty special. But I was watching him with his facial expressions. He was putting on his watch, and I remember watching. But I also thought, because he was kind of, walking, kind of a little hunched over like a little old man. I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, how's this guy get on horses? So, but yeah, I just wanted to watch. I didn't want to become a fan and disrupt him while he's traveling and this and that. But I used to see a lot of actors and a lot of musicians, and met a lot of. So over time, man, I'll tell you some stories about some of the greatest heroes that I got to meet. Some, they weren't heroes, but I met some people that were, that could be dicks, and that was just in my opinion, and maybe they were just having a bad day. But some of the stories hold up about some of these people. But yeah, so over time, like I said, I've met and spent some time with a lot of artists, and it's pretty special in my memory. So yeah, Robert Duvall. So I've been watching his films. I just watched one with him and Charles Bronson, The Breakout, and it was pretty good. I've never seen it, and it was surprising because Duvall didn't have that much. The movie was a Charles Bronson movie and his real wife, so they had more scenes and more acting. But Duvall, he was already past The Godfather, and maybe Godfather 2, but head full of hair for one. But it was good. It was a good movie, and yeah, I like watching those. I've been watching a lot of early Meryl Streep films, and Charles Bronson, and Nick Nolte. I'm almost done with Nicholson, De Niro, and Pacino. Absolute favorites. Dennis Hopper is another one. Yeah, And I've been watching some Jane Fonda movies, like early ones. She made some really good ones in the, good stories. James Caan, of course, Thief. Um, I've been watching a lot of stuff that I've missed over the years, and so on. So I've been doing that. Me and my lady, we went to the movies on Wednesday, I guess, and our movies around here, they do half price because God, it's gotten so expensive. But we went and saw the Michael Jackson movie, and it was pretty good, man. I really, of course, being a fan and growing up and knowing more of the story of Michael Jackson. Of course, they leave accurate stuff out, and a lot of big things. I thought, like the controversies when he was younger, even just with the tabloids and stuff like that, the McCartney, aspect and all that. Meeting the president, little things. I thought, okay, well, but I know what they were doing. They were focusing more on his talents and his family life, and the relationship with his father, and so. But I enjoyed it, man. It was his nephew that was Michael. I think it was Jermaine's son, Jafar. But there was a couple parts, man, especially when he was a kid. It was kind of moving to me. And I grew up, really, my very first album I ever got was Thriller. It was my album. That was my first album that it was given to me, and I still have. I kept it, man. Kept it in great condition. But yeah, that was my really start of really interest in the music. And I was young, but I was young enough to know the moves. Was kind of obsessed with it. Had the posters. I remember when he first came on MTV. We'd record it. We somehow had a VCR. We weren't a rich family, but we had a VCR and MTV. We got cable, and that came with it. It was all new, and I remember Billie Jean and Beat It, and then Thriller. They even put Thriller on TV, as a special, and making of, and then they showed the video. So it was all interesting, and I danced, man. I used to get in the living room and do the spins, the moonwalk, the on the toes. Yeah, I was in that generation. I was young, but man, it was real, man. It was really just a good memory. So, me and my lady, I really think Michael is very talented, and here's my copy that I've had since 1983. I think that's when that came out. I can't read this, but yeah, this is the album. And then I remember we went on a road trip, and my parents got me this on cassette, and we listened to it. I think we were going back home, and it was like a 7-hour drive or something. So, we got a good listen to Bad. My favorite has always been Human Nature, just a phenomenal song. Of course, Smooth Criminal, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. It was a good time, man. Me and my lady, we enjoyed the film. I'll watch it again, and I'm hearing they're probably going to do possibly a sequel. I guess the second part of his life. But I don't know. It was moving to me in certain aspects. Even when he was older, there were some parts I was like, man. But controversy aside, and he was talented. He was very talented, and he went through a lot of trauma, and I've always sensed that and known that, and and it was just kind of escapism for a couple hours this week. So we went and saw that. This past week we lost two giants, in my opinion, of music and inspirations for me. I was like, man, I was kind of bummed. I really was. And the first being was great inspirational. Probably my second favorite band of all time. Dick Perry played on this album. Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. What can I say? The saxophonist, he really set the mood and the tone for this album and the following album. And I just don't think it would be the same to hear Us and Them or Breathe or Money, without hearing the wail, man, the saxophone, the breathiness. Man, so beautiful. And I was trying to, and then this is Wish You Were Here, the follow-up, which was a big sound, I think Richard Wright and Dick and David Gilmour really set a tone for this album, and just, but I don't know. I was kind of saddened by it, man, because I have so many memories and so many night drives and so many trips and so many just memories with Pink Floyd, and hearing this music, and the realization that, I've been in this cloud of mortality, and thinking, my heroes, they're moving on. Excuse me, my throat gets dry. They're moving on, and it's the realization that it's all happening. It's all going to happen. And so, seeing some of these artists slow down, like one being Paul McCartney, seeing him, and the cruelty of time and aging, and losing that voice, that powerful, that, I give it to them, man. A lot of these artists, that they're still out there doing it, that's what's keeping them moving and keeping their minds, and it's fantastic. I hope to live that long, and have some cognitive, growing up or growing older, in the sense of I can function and still, something, I look forward to something. And that's what a lot of the music is healing. The music is medicine. It is for me. When I start feeling bad, man, I can come in here, I can turn on my music, I can go for a drive, and it's healing. I always thought, man, when I get the blues and I'm feeling low, I'm always lifted up by listening to the Beatles, listening to the Grateful Dead, listening to Bob Marley and the Wailers. It just gets me out of that funk, and I start feeling better. And that's the serotonin, that's the feeling, the spirit moving through me that makes me feel better. Of course, there's so many other artists, but I always think about those three bands that make me feel, that lift me up. It just takes, I don't know, it takes me somewhere else. And I think that's what the Grateful Dead, when people don't understand the Grateful Dead, I've always said, you're either a deadhead or you're not, And people don't understand it, a lot of people. But then there's a lot of us that do understand it. And, once you get into that trip, you get into that, it gets you, man. I didn't grow up a Grateful Dead fan. It came to me, probably in my late teens, early 20s maybe, the latest. But it captured me. It was like, wow, My very first Dead album was Live Dead. And I explored, man. Dark Star. It's always one of my top, songs. But yeah, Bob Marley and the Wailers, always, man. It just gives me something that just cures my blues, in that moment. And so, music is healing. Getting older, cognitive, I've seen videos of people with dementia, and then once they listen, they get into that sound, they put the headphones on, they're functioning, they're talking, you can see them awaken, and it's just beautiful. And so, that's why I take music seriously, man. I think a lot of people I know, even people that I know that have been just a music fan or a fanatic all their lives, that as they've gotten older, they've kind of eased off, and it's not a priority more. They don't understand, why are you so obsessed? Why are you still, I'm midlife, man, and I'm still getting turned on, and it's beautiful. I love it, and I can't wait to get back and start discovering more. I've been holding off these last couple of years and rediscovering my collection here, and getting reacquainted and rediscovering and getting back to, when I put on certain records, I'm like, man, I remember. And so it's a beautiful thing. Music is a natural medicine. It's universal. We all know that. I like to go the natural side. I don't want to take, if I'm feeling down or depressed, I'm not saying it's wrong, but personally, I would rather not be on medication. I would rather not be medicated that way. I would rather be medicated by music, meditation, creativity, creating, and being around good people, finding those people. But everybody else deals with it, and not what I'm saying is any advice or any right or wrong way to do it. It's just the way I do it, and I think that's what pulls me out of dark clouds, or I can be on a cloud, and if I got the right tunes, man, I can float back down. It's a beautiful thing. So Dick Perry, this was my copy I got in '94, I think. I think he was on. I don't know if he was on this. I can't remember if he was on it more, but I remember him being on the one of my favorite tracks, the Richard Wright track, "Wearing the Inside Out." I know he makes an appearance on that. Dick has played with a lot of bands. He's on this tour. On top of my head, Bozo Doodah Band. I think he played with them. John Entwistle, maybe. Yeah, John Entwistle, Bloodstone, some others, a lot of others. But he started out. He was childhood friends with David Gilmour, and he went on tour and was on Pink Floyd's albums. And I don't know, I can't remember if he was on The Wall, but there were like little parts here and there. But mostly his main contributions was Dark Side of the Moon and Wish You Were Here, which is, hey man, if I had that on my resume, I'd be cool. That's all I needed, but yeah, man, he was, I loved his tone. I loved his, just his vibe and his presence he brought to these songs and these albums. He's a part of it. He did show up. I remember he was on the Live Aid show when they all four reunited as Pink Floyd. And he played there, of course on Money I think they played, and that's my least favorite song on that album. I guess because of the radio just killed it so much, but I still love it. The other artist we lost was the great Sonny Rollins. These are the only two albums I have of his, which I need to change. 1950s albums, post-bop. I had this one sealed for forever, and I opened it recently, and I think I was going to spin it, and then it got just kind of pushed to the side, so I haven't even played this. This hasn't ever been played. Blue Note, and then this is on Prestige. So yeah, another, and it goes back to the mortality thing. It's like, I was trying to think just in my head the other day. I was just like, who's left? Who's left from this era of jazz? This era, First one I was thinking about is Herbie Hancock. He was a young man playing with these artists, Miles Davis, Coltrane, and he found more of his groove and his vibe into the late '60s. He had albums in the '60s, but in the '70s, Headhunters, Sextant. That was my first. My dad had the one with Rocket on it, but my first journey when I first went to seek Herbie Hancock out as a solo was the Sextant album, and I had a friend. I that was in my early 20s. I had maybe it was before that, but my late teens. But I had a couple of friends that worked at this college jazz station, and sometimes I'd go in at night as they were, playing the midnight show, and I'd get her to play Sextant off that album. There's long songs, but she'd play them, man, and I would just get lost in that. And of course, Headhunters, and what's the one of the green? Slipped my mind. I'm losing my mind sometimes, man. As I don't want to pull it out, but that's a great album. Menden, you know what I'm talking about if you know. Sorry, my mind is slipped, but that's another favorite of mine. And so, anyways, I know there's other ones out there. I think Kenny Burrell's still around, and I heard a sad thing about him, man. I think he's homeless, or he was. He was having, as an elderly person, and there was I remember seeing a fundraiser, GoFundMe or something for Kenny Burrell. Great guitarist, man. It made me sad. But, leave in the comments, I guess, if you know what, if you can spark my mind, who's from this era of jazz, of like Sonny Rollins and, these wonderful, beautiful artists, who's still around. But yeah, so, rest well, Dick and Sonny. It's crazy. It's crazy how time just moves so fast. It's so precious, man. It's so precious. And I get sad to think of the artists that I listen to a lot and have tons of their albums that are still around, that are still, they're getting up there, and it's the reality. But I don't know, man. I look around and I just, I see so many albums, and it's just the way it goes. The talent, like I think yesterday was the anniversary of Jeff Buckley's passing. And that was still sad. I watched the documentary not too long ago. So, but anyways, I played a few albums. I think there's one I forgot to show in my last video, but I'm going to include it here. And here's another. This is a live Pink Floyd. I wanted to include that because he was on this tour. But yeah. This is the Empire Pool, Wembley, London, 1974. I love it. And I've got some bootlegs of concerts from this period, and Wish You Were Here, and so yeah. First album I pulled out, or I'm going to show, 1967, Art. This is Supernatural Fairy Tales. I found this, man, I don't know how many years ago, but I found it in like a $2 bin. Yeah. I was like, what the? It's a UK mono on Island Records. Yeah, there was another one, it slips my mind. I found, obviously the guy didn't know, he kind of put it in the miscellaneous because it had what album was that? It's another psychedelic gem and this is one of these albums like this other one that I found in the $2 bin that I'd only seen in books for a long time. The cover, the art, I talked about in my last video. Hapsash and the Colored Coat. They did the cover. This band went on to be Spooky Tooth, including Gary Wright. Gary's not in this band, but yeah. Supervision by Chris Blackwell. Starts off with I Think I'm Going Weird. Killer track. Whole album kicks ass. It's got some hard moments, like some driven guitar. It's got some covers on here. One being the second song is For What It's Worth by the Buffalo Springfield, but it's called What's That Sound on this one. And then I really like Supernatural Fairy Tale, that song that ends side one. But yeah, Come On Up by the Young Rascals. I think that's on here. So anyways, I hadn't listened to this in a long time, and I was just going through albums and pulled that one out, and I enjoyed that thoroughly. This is a repress. I've never come across a original, but Lee Stevens, Red Weather. This was his first solo album after leaving Blue Cheer, guitarist, singer. This album has Kevin Westlake, Nicky Hopkins, Mike Waller, and Ian Stewart, and Eric Albronda. This is more, Blue Cheer was so heavy, and this is more, I don't know, laid back, I guess. It still has some blues, psychedelic riffs in here, some of that wah pedal. A lot of people really love this album. I came on late to this album. I grew up listening to Blue Cheer, but I never listened to anything solo. And then I became acquaintances or friends, social friends with Lee Stevens, and we had a few conversations early on, but I haven't heard or spoken to him in for many years. But yeah, this was another great album. This is actually, I think originally it came out in 69 or 1970, and this was a 2010 release on Sundays. So that was one I hadn't listened to in a while, and so I was like, I was just going through, and boom, that's where the finger stopped. I didn't show this last time. This is December's Children. Bluesy, psychedelic garage, country tinges there, it has some harmonies. Male and female. This is on Mainstream Records. There was a lot of bands around this time, and this one I can understand. Big Brother and the Holding Company, their first album was on Mainstream, but there is some female artists, and it's not negative or anything I'm saying, because I understand the influence, but I feel like, in my opinion, they were trying to emulate their own Janis Joplin, the singing. This is one that I kind of see the direction, kind of hear it a little bit. Alice Popovic. I don't know how to say that. But yeah, bands like I don't know. I'd say Smith, maybe Cold Blood, Linda. They kind of had that. Maybe Sweetwater. I think Sweetwater had. I think they had a female singer. And they did it in their own way. Even Donna from the Grateful Dead. But yeah, so this standout track for me is the second song, or the third song, Jane's song, the slow one. That's what it's called. It's real. I don't know. It has a really good vibe to it, man. And it's one of those albums, man. I can listen to. It's not. It's nothing just grand. It's no Dark Side of the Moon. But it's worth having. I enjoy having it in my collection. And this is an album I got on early. I used to find RCA psychedelic and Mainstream, and I loved the early days. Before this big vinyl resurgence where you can't find shit or it's way overpriced, where you could go and find this stuff and fairly cheap. I remember this was like something like $10-13 or something, and repress or not, man, it's just like, it's good to have. So never in my advice is, if you ever find a great album, something that's rare or some kind of gem, and you can only find it, you'll come across, hopefully one day, of an original. But don't be a snob about it, man. Get it while you can, and why, if it's affordable. I love going to places that still are in this vinyl, and I understand you got to pay the light bills and the rent and this and that on your spot, but they'll also give you, like, I have a place that I haven't been through in a few years, but it's my number one. That if they have like new albums, it's used, and it's probably been played once. $10, $12, and it's like, damn, it's right next to the one that's $50. So, but yeah, that's not saying that cost that, but just saying. This is a New Zealand press of Uriah Heep's, very, very heavy and very humble, 1970. Foundational to heavy metal, man, in my opinion. Prog, hard rock, tinge of psychedelia still, but the direction of going, and another band that I just feel that don't get enough credit. These are the bands that should be in the Rock and Hall of Fame. These are the ones that started that revolution of heavy metal and hard rock and kicks ass, man. I mean, this is a time where very in the realms of Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, starting out with Judas Priest, all these heavy bands that came after. And so I have the American the snake, I guess, with the face, and I always looked out, and I just came across this real cheap, many years ago, but I always like this cover. It's creepy. It's kind of fitting to the music, that death but yeah, Gypsy. How it starts out, it kicks ass. Whole album kicks ass. Keeps you, I turn it up. I pull this one out frequently, of all my Uriah Heep. But yeah, dig that, man. Another underrated band that's should be in the Rock and Hall of Fame, and probably one of my favorite San Francisco bands of them all. Quicksilver Messenger Service. This is their fourth album, 1970. Just for Love. Dino Valenti. He had a history of the band, but he went to jail for cannabis, and just kind of. But he comes and he's actually the singer and guitarist on this album, and kicks ass. Another album, Nicky Hopkins is in the band now. But yeah, I really love this band. I love the sound. I love the feeling. It's like, this is an album you put on in the afternoon or night. The afternoon, with the windows open, smoking a big spliff. Listening to, I love the lyrics in a lot of their music. It's like, it's personal. It's talking about, what am I going to do? This one is Fresh Air. Give me a hit of that fresh air. That was the main big song in here. But Wolf Run, Just for Love, Cobra, the Hat, Freeway Flyer, Gone Again. Another band that needs more exposure, man. This was, these are the bands that came out of the San Francisco scene that were there with the Grateful Dead, Jefferson Airplane. A lot of those bands that were just, overlooked. Moby Grape. But I don't think they get enough love. I love them, man. I've got every album except for Shady Grove. For some reason I don't have that, now that I've realized, it's like, because I have so much. I think that's their third album. I don't ever see it, so you bet when I see it next, I'm gonna get it. But I have a lot of their live shows. They've been cool. They archives they've released over the years, and I used to pick them up on the cheap, and greatest hits. But yeah, I've got almost a whole cube just full of Quicksilver, because that's how much I love them, man. I just think they're just a phenomenal band, and I just love their sound and their freeness, and just great musicians. And this was a 1970 release. Another 1970 release. It was funny. It's like I just started picking, and I didn't purposely pick these, but there's like 1970 is the year, I guess, this week. Mountain Climbing. I pull this one out often. What can I say about Mountain? Another underrated band that kicks ass. I don't think is given their due. Leslie West, Felix Paparotti, Corky Lang and Steve Knight. This is their first debut album. This is another band that I have a lot of their albums, but I always forget because I am missing some. So luckily I have the Discogs app on my phone, and I'll check, or I'll look, see if I have a, I'd like to get a better, it's got just a little, it's in perfect condition, but, I'd like to find, some with no markings, that's how, that's how I am. But yeah, I listen to this, the main opening is Mississippi Queen. Makes you want to grab a Coors Light or Bush beer. I remember back, I don't know, in my mind, maybe it didn't really happen, but in the 80s and the 90s, beer commercials, man, or they're selling Ford trucks or something, No, Ford truck belonged to Bob Seger. But anyways, yeah, Mountain, man, phenomenal, great. They played Woodstock. Theme for an imaginary Western. Oh, I love it. The voice, the feeling. Never in My Life, Silver Paper, For Yasgur's Farm, To My Friend, The Laird, Sitting on a Rainbow, and Boys in the Band. It's a good party out, man, and this is true. The record was made to be played loud. So yeah, do yourself a favor, man. If you have this, turn it on. Just mellow out and listen to it, man. I love it. And the last album, this was an album I've had sealed. I just opened it. I've had it probably since 2012 on TP Records. It's an EP by a band called, let me make sure I get it right, Black Heat Suja. They're French-American. This album is like, I'd say, psychedelia, jam, spaghetti western, Eastern sounding, surf rock, stoner. If you like bands like Earthless, maybe Earthless kicks ass. I'm just in that genre. This isn't as heavy and just badass as Earthless, in my opinion. Harsh Toke, bands like that. There was an uprising. I don't know how many years ago, 10 years ago or so, that these bands were, and so this is I'd add that into that. This is EP called The Storm Generation, and like I said, it kicks ass. They got some good jams on here, man. I was kind of like, the vocals at first, I was like, okay, I don't know. It didn't strike me as it went with the instrumentation, but it grew on me. But the jams kick ass, Side B, Helios, that's the first, song that, So anyways, yeah, if you ever see that, give it a listen, check it out. I didn't mind listening to it. I like it. So yeah, that's about it. That's all I listen to. What can I say? Summertime's coming up. It's gonna be June, man. Fuck. It's like it was just New Year's. But I'm learning, man. I'm learning just to keep it mellow and enjoy the time I've got. To slow it down. This week I've watched some YouTube videos. Derek Fisher, Psych Derek. Hey man, thanks for giving me, I already told you, but thanks for giving me the shout out on your video about my channel. I'm trying to build it back up. I've been hearing from a lot of people that I haven't heard from a long time. They've kind of been in the shadows, and they're coming out and talking to me. They're watching my videos, and I know people are watching. But I'd like, if you want to leave me a comment, start a conversation, I'd love it. I love conversing. That's why I got into this vinyl community so many years ago, because I wanted to share this experience and get to know people. I used to be the guy in the shadows that would watch videos, and then there was only so many people. I think there was 3 other people at the time, and so I got in on it and made a lot of friends and took a lot of vacations and trips to see these people, and had the people in my house, and it's a cool thing. So yeah, if you want to leave me a conversation, I wish we could all have coffee together, man. Buy each other a coffee, or do something. It's cool. I enjoy. I used to sit late at night and watch videos and make comments. And I watched Lavelle's. He put out a video a couple days ago, maybe a week ago or so, and it was great to spend time. It's so comforting, being in their space. I'm not sure what everybody calls their rooms or their space, but mine's a space cave. But he has such a vast of music. He did a live stream, I think today, of a kind of a room tour and showing a lot of music, and it's cool as hell, man. Lavelle is such a nice guy. He's always been consistent with me, and and just being kind and how's it going, or leaving a comment, or it's beautiful. I love that friendship. I love that. I love it, man. I love Lavelle, man. I love Derek. I miss Mr. Fart Boy, Tony. We're still friends on social media, but I miss these videos where I used to watch, and it was just something to look forward to. Oh man, I was going through my subs the other day, and there's a lot of subs that there's no videos or anything, and some people I'm like, who is this person? And I'm and it's my bad, but I forgot a lot of these people, and I'm seeing these names again. I'm like, oh man, I remember. And so always on my mind. I've never forgotten him. He probably hasn't made videos in like 15 years, man. But he was always a favorite of mine, and I always just he just disappeared. He doesn't have a video, but I was going through and I just typed his name in, and he has one video up from like 15 years ago. So I sent him. I said, hey man, 15 years after 15 years, I'll make my first comment. I said, are you still out there? And he answered, Earl of Suave, man. Jimmy, Earl of Suave. Oh man, it was so great. I'm so happy that he's out there. I'm so happy that he's, and he like said, this is totally weird, man, because I just watched one of your videos and I was pulling albums out, and I'm paraphrasing what he said, but we were on the same plane, but he's been on my mind, and then all of a sudden, boom, that's what I love. And so Earl of Suave, he always was so entertaining and just funny, and his videos I'd always look forward to him. When I'd see it, I'd see it show up on my playlist or whatever. It was like, I gotta watch that. The guy just cracks me up, and he was just so sincere. And so I'm hoping, maybe he'll come out of the shadows, or wherever he's at. Maybe we'll see him again. But I wanted to give that shout out to Earl of Suave, man. Just he was such a pillar of this community. I don't know how. I just discovered him one day, and I don't know if he'd been on for a long time, or what it was, or he was new, but he put out a lot of videos. But there is one on YouTube that's still up, and so I was real happy. I just sent him another message today, this evening, about hey, how you doing, and blah blah blah. But stuff like that, I love when I'm hearing from people that were in the past, man, that are still around. I love it. It makes me feel better. It's less lonely and less empty out there, So anyways, yeah, I'm not gonna rap too much longer. Past 40 minutes, that's about normal, right? So anyways, I hope everybody's doing well. Take care of yourselves, and I'm gonna be back soon. I'm getting back on this. I finally got my final microphone. I finally, the other ones, the last one I had, I sent it back because I didn't like it. But I think this is doing pretty well. I'm working on it, trying to work on, how everything looks. So yeah, let's make it a great day, and I hope that hope I hear from everybody. I hope I hear from you. I appreciate your comments and your views and your interaction with me. It's beautiful. So take care, and I'll see you on the flip side. Peace.